little chilly out there, Ashonti. Tell us a little bit more about what's coming up today.
It is very chilly. Do not let this wind fool you. It is not a Vidal Sassoon moment. It is freezing out here.
Sean Duffy, that's the transportation secretary, said the American Airlines flight was within its normal flight pattern to land. This will not move through the Senate without significant changes to our border policy, right? Know President Biden has always said that he wants to financially support Ukraine, right? Which is why the U.S. has already given Ukraine $44 billion.
This was a message about unity in its totality and, cooling down the political temperature.
These themes are centered around making America great again. And I know as we were coming into the conference and now that we're in Pfizer, we see that all around us.
Programs that are designed to reduce those costs, like Medicare, for example, are now facing major opposition.
Congress, they have a very long to-do list, including approving that disaster relief aid package, agreeing on funding to keep the government open, passing legislation. Here on Capitol Hill, a rising concern amongst lawmakers that say President Trump is walking the nation into a trade war.
But Georgia and North Carolina are the ones that he's done really well in thus far. He's won 26 states. And then if we take a look at Vice President Kamala Harris, right now she's at 224 electoral college votes.
The death toll in the Israel-Hamas war has reached around 32,000, and the Palestinian Health Ministry reports that of that number, 30,000 are Palestinians. Anger and frustration over 6,000 miles away from the war on U.S. soil. And these protests, they're only growing louder, many of them showing a deep resent for how the Biden administration asked Congress to send Israel money to continue the war. Senator Bernie Sanders voting no on those efforts.
Look, I think everybody recognizes that Israel has a right to defend itself against a terrorist organization like Hamas. My concern right now is that what Netanyahu's right-wing extremist government is doing is not going to war against Hamas, but going to war against the Palestinian people in general.
President Biden and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, they had a phone conversation this week, and that's after over a month of no communication. And while there's still no talks of a ceasefire, there's still no talks of releasing more hostages. Israel's Prime Minister did agree to send some military officials out to D.C. to kind of talk with President Biden about how they can move forward. Reporting from the nation's capital, I'm Ashonti Ford.
The state of California just issued a major recall on raw milk after traces of bird flu were found in a milk tank on a farm out of Fresno, California. Now, in turn, RFK Jr., who is a longtime fan of raw milk, asked that same Fresno farmer to join the Food and Drug Administration to help him safely get raw milk into stores. And this is despite the current FDA's warning that raw milk is something we should not be drinking.
Raw milk is unpasteurized, which means it hasn't been taken through the heating process that the CDC says kills harmful bacteria. But there's a growing community of people, including RFK Jr., who say that bacteria provides health benefits.
Yes, it's nutritious, it's creamy, it's delicious. And this is the medicine that healed my digestive system.
There are studies in kids who drink raw milk that show they have lower rates of asthma and allergic illnesses like eczema. This is so good for you.
Well, leave them be. These are people who get their health information from RFK Jr., okay? If they want to eat uncooked chicken and dirty berries, let them.
Raw milk can carry harmful germs such as Cryptosporidium, E. coli, Listeria, Brucella, and Salmonella.
Now, I reviewed 40 public opinions on raw milk, and there was almost an even divide. So I took this debate to Capitol Hill to ask Senator Peter Welch of Vermont his thoughts.
So I think there's a personal choice about do you want to drink raw milk, but I think there's a public responsibility for testing to make certain that what you are drinking is safe to drink.
Walt Bones, a fourth-generation farmer, said that responsibility lies with the dairy farmer, adding that the bird flu has been found on over a dozen farms throughout the country.
Historically, there have been 853 cases of avian flu in dairy herds in 16 different states. Out of those, 638 of those are in California.
Now, if RFK Jr. passes Senate confirmations, he will be the next leader of the Department of Health and Human Services. And he already has a long list of changes that he wants to see, including the overall approach to health and wellness. And while several scientists have warned against things like raw milk, RFK Jr. says it's time we look at different options on health care. On Capitol Hill, I'm Ashonti Ford.